So today in this video, we're gonna cover downsizing. So recently I had a family member come to me and they came to me for a loan. They were, basically selling the house that, their entire family grew up in and they're downsizing. We talked a lot and I felt like, I was very compelled to kind of go on video and kind of talk about this and give you mortgage options and tips for downsizing. I'm a family man. I've got 3 kids, a beautiful wife. And, we live in a house that is basically big enough for our entire family to give us space, to give us, enough adequate bathrooms to use and, things that are kind of important to us, neighborhoods that, have a lot of children, good school systems. However, I've constantly thought, I'm in an age now where, my oldest kid has a foot as big as I have, right? And in a blink of an eye, they're going to be out of the house. They're going to be super old and they're not going to want to hang out with their old man anymore. When I was talking to this family member / consumer about downsizing, here are some of the things that, are really important and the key takeaways from our conversation. Giving yourself enough time to kind of sort through your belongings is really important. Working and living in clutter is extremely difficult. However, once you have everything kind of like sorted through and you know what you want to take with you and what you don't want to take, it's going to make things a lot easier. Do you want to sell it and make some money off of your belongings? Or do you want to keep it and hand it down? Or do you want to just donate it and let someone else who may not be able to afford some of those belongings that you have enjoy it and prolong the life of that product? So that's really important. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is spread over the monumental task over several weeks, right? All the time we want to do something and we want to do it fast. However, fast is not always best, right? If there's something that's very sentimental to you. So I'll tell you, when my mom moved out of our house that we grew up in, it was a little townhouse in Chesapeake, Virginia. And I'll tell you, one of the hardest things was for her to go through my father's closet because he passed away in 2013. And she moved in 2018, but we literally had to drag her out of the house. The monumental task was going through his belongings, right? What do I want to keep? What do I want to remember him by? When should I start packing these things? Do I give it away? Do I, how do I get rid of these belongings, right? And I tell you, to this day, there's still some clothes because my dad was really small that she kept to kind of give my kids. And when I see my kids wear these clothes, it brings back a lot of sentimental value. Having time spread out over several weeks, several months to kind of go through these monumental tasks is really important. Trying to cram a process of moving pods, utilities, all this other stuff into a 1 month or 2 month process is extremely stressful. Third tip is to kind of sort through the items that need to be packed as soon as possible and take inventory. That's really important, right? One of the biggest things is when we moved last, when all the boxes were kind of put into different places, my wife and I, we really sorted through the inventory that we really needed immediately, right? Here's a couple boxes of clothes and pots and pans and kitchen utilities that we need right away. Those went on the middle of the island, or they went in the middle of the bedroom when they were, put in the different rooms. Whereas, things that we could kind of take our time unboxing and, putting up would, go in boxes that would be B priority. Having that inventory and having that type of system in place is really important. And one tip for you, I travel a lot and I'll tell you, my luggage has been lost a couple of times. So I always have my belongings in the check-in bags. However, I always put 3 or 4 outfits in my carry-on just in case my bags get lost. Toothbrush, soap, things like that are really important to you. Next thing would be, create a spreadsheet of your belongings so that that things don't get lost in the move. That's really important because, we like to have inventory of everything just in case something bad were to happen, like an accident and all of your belongings, maybe, you put in a pod and that warehouse burned down. It's really important to kind of have a breakdown or a spreadsheet of your belongings. Decide what's important, what you really want to take with you because you're downsizing, right? For instance, if I were to downsize, I'd be going from a, couple thousand square foot house, downsizing to maybe something a little more manageable. My wife and I often talk about living on the water in a little condo, 1,100, 1,200 square feet or less. That's totally cool with us. However, knowing that we don't want to over clutter the place with things that we thought were important at times. And that's why I've really gotten into the mindset of like, do I want it or do I need it? Make it easy to find things and determine what's essential. We kind of covered that already, but having those essential items, once again, I think is really important to kind of just have it there and know what's essential, and to have it in like different, like, dishes, appliances, furniture, clothing, linen, any electronic gadgets. That's really important. And then finally, taking stock of everything once it gets moved from one place to the other. So we always marked our boxes, right? We always mark the box like 1 through 30. So we know when we pack up 30 boxes that when we go to the new house, there's going to be 30 boxes that show up. And if they don't, then we know which box had what in it. So if we needed something, let's say, I packed my suits and that was not on a priority level, and something pops up like, hey, an emergency wedding, I would know where my suits are. So I can say, hey, look on my spreadsheet. In box 29, I have all of my, suits and tuxedos and things like that. How do you let go of your belongings? Like when we talked, me and my consumer / family member, we talked about what are the best ways of letting go of your belongings. There's a garage sale. That's always good. People are going to lowball you, so just totally get used to it. It's really frustrating, and you may not get the return on investment, which is the investment of your time, but it may be worth it. We've had garage sales multiple times, and we've never walked away with more than a couple $100. And a lot of times we just gave stuff away, right? Just to get rid of it. Now there's a really cool things like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, other platforms where you can sell things. So Nextdoor, that's a really good place to get rid of things. Donation centers, this is probably where we spend once a month, where we donate things. Not only is it good because you're passing on things that other people could use that you no longer value anymore, but it's good because you get a tax deduction on it. So definitely do those donations. We always want to take photos of all the items to make sure that, whatever we're getting rid of or donating, or we're moving, we kind of know what the condition they were beforehand. Back to like my mom's move, right? Creating like that memory book. Certain things that were really important, like, my dad used to wear the same shirt all the time. So, we kind of cut out little like pieces of fabric and put it in like a little memory book for us to kind of remember him by. That was really important. And then sharing items with your friends and family. I tell you, there's no greater joy than to be able to pass on clothes to like my little nieces and nephews and kind of see them wear the clothes that my kids grew up wearing. And that brings me more joy than anything else. Next part would be, because you're downsizing, you really need to start like simplifying and getting rid of all the unnecessary items. Organization's huge, right? Making sure that you have everything kind of organized, because you are in a smaller space now. So no more of these big old like coffee racks for your Keurig coffee refills. Maybe something a little smaller, maybe 3 or 4 at a time instead of a showcase of 20 pods. Simplifying your routine, hiring a professional. That was a huge thing for us. Having someone come in and kind of like create organizational spaces for us in our closets was huge. And then basically, getting a moving company was super huge for us when we made our move. And it's very beneficial when you're downsizing. So now to the mortgage side of things. Now that you've sold the house that you kind of like raised your kids in, or sold a house that you spent the last 5, 7, or 10 years in, now it's time to look for a new mortgage. What are some of the essential keys when looking for your new mortgage? Should you get a forward mortgage or should you get a reverse mortgage? That's something that you should always weigh out, right? Hopefully, whenever you get a mortgage, you're getting a mortgage for at least a 5-year period or 7-year period, which is the average time that a consumer in America stays in their house. But one thing that you should always know is when you're going with a forward mortgage, okay, when you pay your monthly payment every single month, this is the monthly payment. This is going down every single month. And then every single year or every single certain period of time, your home values are going to constantly increase. So this spread is called your equity. However, when you're going with a reverse mortgage, this is still going to go up, but every single month while you're living in the house mortgage free, this is also going to go up. So you're really hoping that this outpaces this. So you're still getting good value. I used to not be a big fan of reverse mortgages, but reverse mortgages definitely have their staying power. There's definitely some benefits to it because, being alive long enough to kind of remember the last 20 something years of seeing how the housing market is. And in my limited time of seeing how the housing market is, houses constantly appreciate. And because they appreciate, it's always good to kind of like go into a house. Sorry, allergies are really kicking in today and bothering me a lot. Next thing to really consider is how much down payment you want to use, right? How much of that equity from the previous house that you sold do you want to put into a loan? That's going to kind of be the determining factor as to what type of loan we're going to give you, right? Whether it's an FHA loan with a minimum of 3.5% down, and the more you put down, that mortgage insurance will go away after a while, like a conventional loan. With conventional loans, maybe if you're putting 20+% down, there's no PMI, so that may be more beneficial. And even if you have a VA loan, even though it requires no money down, it could benefit you because of a lower interest rate. Even though you're putting 20% down, you maybe get a better value out of a VA loan. Same thing with USDA loans and other loan products. So when you're going through this process, like I said, I know it's very challenging. Downsizing definitely not only has the loan challenges that you have, but the sentimental challenges that you have to have in getting rid of things. However, I'm here to help you out through this process, and my name is David Xie, and I'm with the Xie Mortgage Team. Feel free to reach out to us 7 days a week at 757-478-8493, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.